Hey there, welcome to Dusk, a podcast for psychics and spiritualists, where basically I give you the lowdown on all of the things I would have liked to know whenever I started my path as a psychic and spiritualist. My name is Zamira, and I am a clairvoyant psychic intuitive. Okay, so let's just run into it. I titled this Decentering Your Algorithms from Your Spirituality or something like that, and look, we all get it. One of the giant paradoxes is one thing, I'm on social media, you found me here. Another thing, you probably found this from your own algorithm, but considering how small of a creator I am, chances are you probably are here because of word of mouth, so there is that. But I really wanted to make this video because actually my guides told me to. They were like, hey, you need to teach people how to learn. Everybody who is on this spiritual bandwagon situation, they need to learn how to learn. So that's what this podcast episode is going to be about. How can we find the best information possible and become our own navigators on our spiritual path instead of listening to what the TikTok algorithm has to say, what short videos have to say, what this person has to say, what that person has to say. Because what does this do? In my opinion, this causes spiritual psychosis, okay? If you are interested in spirituality, especially if you're younger, you're probably going to find a lot of the knowledge and a lot of the new fun topics to talk about on TikTok. And a 60-second video is just not good enough to integrate a true learning of something through experience or even just by rote memory, learning something by reading it, that's just not deep enough. And whenever we're learning these really, really deep topics in a shallow manner, what we're doing is kind of lying to ourselves and distilling information to where it basically becomes fluff and it's just not helpful. So I want to teach you guys how you can learn on your own, so that way you are able to deepen your spiritual practice, okay? And also level it up, find breakthroughs, just kind of start to curate your own value system, your own religion, if I should say, if you don't really align with other religions out there, because I'm finding that this is the best way to go about things in my own path. So of course, if this isn't something that resonates with you, if anything doesn't resonate with you, do not take it. Literally put it away, don't listen to it, really tap into your own system on what feels good with you. There's a lot of different spiritualists online, and we are already seeing this plethora of contradicting advice that becomes really confusing for the beginners, especially. We're getting really confused on what exactly everybody is talking about. So we're not really sure if what somebody is saying is more metaphorical than it is reality. We're not sure if this is fluffy. We're not sure if things are real. So what is real? What is fluffy? What is nonsense? This video is for you if you're struggling with any of those things, especially if you feel like you don't want to write anything off because anything is possible and you don't know what you're talking about, so might as well listen to somebody else. No. Let's change the gears around that. There are going to be 3 parts of this podcast. The first part is going to be about following your curiosity, not following the hive mind, and just being able to critically think and how important logic is whenever it comes to the spiritual path or ghosties and all of that stuff that we want to learn more about. The second part will be actually digging in on how to learn how to learn. What kind of sources should you be looking for? What are some subjects you can start off with? What are systems that you can use to refine your practices, refine your knowledge, and really go deeper, finding the rabbit holes so you can learn more about how to do it. And some suggestions on what resources can we use online to learn better, what I don't recommend, what I do recommend, and overall, how can you learn how to deepen this process. And then the third one is not so much just revolving around tech and algorithms and however you use your devices to learn, but more about principles to just help you step into your own power, your own intuition, to really help you learn how to trust your inner system better. Before we get into the good stuff of this video, I do want to let you guys know that I provide readings, psychic readings for you guys. I have reviews on my website and on Google, so go and check me out, and I would love to be able to help you detangle whatever's going on in your life and provide you with some guidance to help you find your footing and make your life amazing. Mwah. Okay, without further ado, let's get back into the pod. First off, I just want to talk about social media in general. It has been proven already, and we've seen it in documentaries, we've seen it in like stats and everything, that it's not great for our mental health. Algorithms are used to make you into an angry fucking consumer that just like literally does nothing but rank up engagement. It's used to show you a shit ton of ads, and they're just literally trying to make money off of you. So we have to keep in mind that everything we see on a screen is inevitably for a purpose that is not necessarily rooted in wanting to help you out. And that's not to say that the creators themselves are, not aligned with a greater purpose, but no matter what, the videos that you will be seeing, they're in front of you for a reason put by the algorithm. It's really important to critically think on why is this information showing up for you? Really being observant on why your algorithm is showing up in certain ways. For an example, on especially YouTube, I really miss the way the YouTube algorithm used to be, if it even was an algorithm at all. I was having this conversation with my boyfriend the other day, but basically, like back in the day, on the recommends, you wanted to watch what was on the recommended, like side tab, right? You were excited. You actually felt like, oh, this is a pretty good video. I can't wait to see what's recommended to me. And I'm talking about like, this was like back in 2011, maybe like early 2010s, where the recommended tab was actually pretty okay. I guess sidebar wasn't really a tab. Nowadays, it just feels like if you watched something, it will literally give you a video that's like almost exactly the same or talks about the same thing, and it just goes into this like whole echo chamber kind of feeling where it's like you can't escape this one topic. So like if you go down the YouTube drama rabbit hole, oh my God, it's just all drama all of the time about the same people all of the time. If you're just cognizant about the way that your algorithms appear to you, you will have more of an understanding on why all of a sudden you're getting a lot more tarot reading videos. Maybe you're watching a lot, all of a sudden more are filtering through, and maybe not all of them are synchronicities. Maybe not all of them are messages that are meant for you. Okay, because that's also another thing, especially with the tarot readers in spiritual communities. Dude, like these titles are getting insane. They are getting insanely like specific. They're getting insanely like antagonistic almost, or maybe antagonistic is not the word, but you know that they're trying to bait you into thinking it's about you, or thinking it's about the love videos are like probably the worst ones, where it's like, this person is thinking about you, this person left you and now they want to come back. Like these titles are insane. So just really keep that in mind while you're trying to watch anything, especially with spiritual videos. Keep that in mind, okay? Just because you have a lot of tarot readings on your feed doesn't necessarily mean all of them are meant for you. And another thing is that usually how I go about tarot readers is occasionally I will click on just a random one that pops up in my feed or whatever, but I really like tapping into the person's energy and seeing if what they're saying even is true first. It's almost like you have to do a vibe check on the reader first before you're like, yes, this is good and I'll listen to this. Because it's very easy to kind of get attached to a message that actually is not meant for you. So do a vibe check on the reader first. And how you can do this is literally just by taking a couple of deep breaths and asking your gut, like, is this message meant for me? And if you feel that fun little like warm spinning feeling that's like, ah, then yes, that means a yes. And if you feel any clenching, any tightness, any sort of like clutch on that at all, it means no. I've actually done this with professional readers as well. There have been moments where I'm about to go in for a reading. My guides are like, don't listen to this. And it's actually proven itself to be very reliable. So another thing I want to mention about the algorithmic type of issue that we're having here is that there isn't just tarot readers and psychics online that want to talk to you, but it's also like people who want to teach you spiritual information. In the beginning, especially in the beginning, for me, I was also a victim of putting everybody's word above my own. Right? So if somebody made a video about what they thought on a certain subject, I would take it as truth. And I don't know, maybe I'm just fucking stupid. Nobody else does this, but there was a mechanism in me, basically, that was like, oh, you're learning. Everybody else knows better than you. So listen to them because they really are going to teach you. And this is just an ideology that I feel like is still an issue, especially for people who do want to seek the truth, who do want to learn and do want to put in the work, okay, is that we go to these teachers and these people who are making content about the spiritual and we take everything what they say as fact, or we completely like disregard all of it as like just fluff and nonsense. But I'm more so talking about the people who integrate everything that they are being shown because the information is just so powerful, or if it feels very provocative or something about it rings true. Even if something about it rings true, you want to be able to digest the information first. So in the past, especially for me, I would kind of just eat that shit up, you know, like all that spiritual information. I just wanted to eat it all up. And honestly, it kind of like clogged my spiritual arteries, basically. If you are just eating all of this spiritual shit without any regard with who is saying it, why they might be saying it, what do they specialize in, what do they actually care about, then you're going to start taking in distortions in your learning. And keep in mind, these distortions are everywhere. They are everywhere. So please, please do your best to rescind the blind faith from everyone, even if they are a powerful channel. There are powerful channels who say they're channeling one thing and they're channeling another. There are channels who say that they are channeling a specific group of alien, and it's actually not the greatest group of alien that has best interests in humanity. You know what I mean? Like, you want to be careful about who is dispensing this information and who they're working with. And it can be really easy to get scooped up in the, wow, they are channeling multidimensionals. They must know everything. Some multidimensionals, they fucking hate us, okay? Or they just like kind of don't care for us. So I'd be careful about that. Side note, I know I haven't really talked about a lot of multidimensionals on my channel before, and I might get into it more. Right now, I'm not really comfortable giving you guys that information because, like, it's really easy to look fucking crazy saying it, but also I'm still integrating my own information with it, and I don't want to be bullshitting you guys. Like, I want to be sure, okay, whenever I come to you guys with information. But yeah, you don't want to just trust everybody who's saying that they can channel whatever alien out there. I actually have my own personal story around this, and unfortunately it does have to do with like a creator slash channel, and her name was Elizabeth April, and I mentioned her on my channel before. And the reason why I mention her is because whenever I was expanding myself and my spirituality, where I wasn't really listening to a lot of people, I noticed that I was able to expand myself. I was feeling really powerful. I was expanding my abilities, and I felt like I was moving towards higher consciousness than I was operating on before. And whenever I say that, I don't mean to say that in like a braggy way, in like a, oh, I was moving towards higher consciousness. It was more so like I was able to feel better and I was able to anchor in lighter energies than I was before. That's what I mean by that, because we're all working towards higher consciousness. I guess some of us are not wanting to do that. I was feeling really good about my path, and I started opening up towards listening to a lot of other channels, a lot of other people, spiritual teachers, about their knowledge, because I wanted to expand a little bit more. It's funny that I said I want to expand. That was like Elizabeth April's whole thing. I would listen to the advice and the stuff that EA would talk about, and it was really, really powerful stuff, especially at the time. It was something about it really, really rang true. There was a lot of like cosmic information that she was giving, and it was just stuff, it was mind-boggling stuff. Like I just saw myself really looking up to her, because I was like, holy shit, like how is she getting all this information? Like I can tell that she is channeling something. So I quickly became this acolyte of hers. I was consuming her content and like really felt like I believed in it. So I would integrate a lot of the advice that she would give into my own personal life. And I'm not gonna lie, once I started doing that, like there is such thing as purging. Like once you're starting to anchor in higher energies, you're purging a lot of like dense energies, you're becoming more familiar with the healing process, you're learning how to do all of that stuff. But this was different. I started straying away from my path like hardcore, and I didn't really understand why. And later on in the years, as I became more well-versed in protection and worked under other mentors that helped me kind of go through this purging process that I'm currently in right now, I really started to realize, oh shit, her teachings were lowering my vibration. This was, of course, my fault. Like, people can do whatever the fuck they want. I'm sure some people still align with her teachings, but I don't, because I've seen the effect it had on my physical life. And what I mean by that is I felt my depression coming back, my anxiety coming back. I felt like things were just like getting a little darker. I felt myself avoiding it. I stopped my self-care practices and the discipline that I had for a while. And I started rethinking my path, just not feeling as connected, feeling like I was doing something wrong. And it wasn't until like years after, not years after, I stopped consuming your content, because I like kind of stopped consuming a lot of like spiritual stuff altogether whenever I was at that point in time, because I was just like kind of overwhelmed with it all. I wasn't using my discernment with her at all, because she was channeling such amazing information, such like mind-boggling, like really it was almost like a glamour, right? Like I was so enticed by the otherworldliness of it all that I just let everything else go out of the window and just like, oh, I have to listen to this person because they obviously have like cosmic information. Why this is super important is because their teachings, if you're integrating them all with blind faith, they will affect your life. There will be a physical effect on your life, and that is something you really, really want to pay attention to. That is why it's so important to suss out creators a little bit, suss out spiritualists, be like, are they really in the light? Like, do I really want to listen to this even though it looks really fun, even though it looks pretty fine? Is this something I want to look into? And just trust your own gut. If it's a no, it doesn't mean that that creator is evil. Maybe it's just not information that you need at that time for you. But just really ask your internal system, like, is this somebody I want to be more involved with? And this doesn't mean cut yourself off from everybody and like be super picky. It's just more of being okay with seeing things and being very, very neutral with all of the information coming at you, and sort of making your own mind on what they said and what it means to you. So it's kind of taking the information that they're giving you and sitting on it, digesting it, and really figuring out, is this something I want to incorporate into my own value system and my beliefs, or is this something that just doesn't resonate with me? That's a really important step, and I really encourage you to do that with my videos as well. The information that I have to give to you guys, it has a certain flavor, and not everybody is going to be into it, and that is totally, totally okay. We're all meant to do our own things, okay? And that is something you really, really need to start developing as you're getting into the spiritual, because it is so easy to be deceived with all of this crazy ass information, right? Like, we're talking about past lives and aliens and shit. So critically think about what somebody is teaching you, what they're trying to teach you, and what's going on there, and ask yourself, does this sit right with me? Like, does this feel good? And then integrate it once you've kind of like figured it out. Another example is like people who work with demons. Where is this coming about in the spiritual community that demons are just like these very hyper logical and super like sterile type of being, where they're just not paying attention to emotion at all? They just want to, like assist in a different way. No, it's a no for me, guys. Let's critically think about this. Why would something be characterized as like the most evil thing ever in the universe, and all of a sudden we're like, yeah, I want to work with that? Like, have you seen the people who work with demons? Here's the thing with lower vibe entities and stuff. Sometimes they do give you what you want, but it comes at a cost, dude. There's always an energetic cost. There's a lot of people who are more concerned with the glitz and glamour of it all. They want the otherworldly information. They want to know how to make their physical life like the most amazing, the most glamorous as possible. And I know sometimes that I can fall into that trap too, and that's something I'm trying to work on. And that's the thing, that's not what spirituality is. It's not what it's for. Even though a demon will give you what you want, sometimes it comes at a huge cost, and that's something we need to be like super cognizant of. Another tip you can do with sussing out spiritualists and stuff is like looking into their eyes. Usually people who work with demons, they have like black eyes, guys. Like, even if they have lighter eyes, their eyes will just look beady. It's almost like the darkness is from the depth of the eyes. And this is also kind of a way where you can tell if you've been infiltrated, or if there's clearing that needs to happen on your part. You'll notice your eyes get darker. And that's just kind of like a way that I'm able to like see, okay, is it time to be clearing stuff? Is it time to like rewire my beliefs and blah, blah, blah. Demons might give you what you want, but they don't have your highest interest in mind. Plus, think about what they're getting from you. Let's move on to the second part of this podcast, and that is learning how to learn. How do we not get sucked into this echo chamber? How do we not get stuck in this like listening to whatever is like most popular at that time? How can we create our own unique curriculum and value system for our own spirituality? And a way you can do this is being intentional with your learning, kind of scanning and going within yourself and asking yourself, like, what is it that I want to learn? What is it that I want to expand on? What feels really good to me? Being curious about this topic, about these topics, is going to be your best friend, because that is going to help you get out of the echo chamber and more into developing your own hyper-personalized process for expansion within yourself. You can start from there instead of just being scooped into all of these like crazy ass topics. Like, every once in a while I'll see videos over the gateway thing with the hemisync project and stuff like that. You really want to come at your spiritual learning from a place of self-direction rather than like whatever you're pulled into learning. Because honestly, in my own path, I've found that is the best way that I'm able to really digest information and actually receive information that is relevant to me, more than if I'm like, oh, I should learn about this because this popped up on my feed. Like, oh, this is what everybody's learning about, so I'm going to learn this. It's more of like going within yourself and asking, what is it that I need help with? what is it that I know? Where is the gap in my knowledge? And like, how can I fill that gap? How can I learn more about that? You know what I mean? That's going to be super helpful for you. More than just getting scooped up into all the hype. Because honestly, the hype is not deep enough. Think about it this way. A 60-second video is giving you a snippet. Maybe you're learning about one term in a whole system of things. If you don't understand the system of things, then that one term can be very, very distilled to the point where it just isn't what it's supposed to mean anymore. If there's one person who's like, oh, demons are this logical, cold being that can help you out, blah, blah, blah. You're not looking at the whole system of what types of entities there are and what they do for you. You're not coming at it with this cognizance of being aware that there's so much more than meets the eye with this one thing, right? Be intentional. The same thing that you do with spiritualists, with content creators online who are making spiritual content, is ask your gut with books. The same thing with books. Just because there's a book on it, maybe it's not the best for you. Maybe it's not what you need to be learning. Another thing you can do with learning how to learn is going to the right people. Again, it really matters. Your intuition really matters on who you are learning from. If there's any ickiness, if there's any uncomfortableness, if there's any like there are some people that I can think of right now and I'm just like, oh my God, no. If there's an uncomfortableness, realize that you'll never be able to push through that uncomfortableness. You'll always feel it in the pit of your gut. Even if your outward actions are like, yeah, like this is cool. I like what they're saying. Your brain might still be like, yeah, this is cool. While your gut is like, I don't know, guys. This doesn't feel right. Like it's still possible to do that. Think about that. But I will say also, on top of all of this, you want to go to your books and you want to go to people who know what they're talking about. But you have to be sure that they know what they're talking about before you buy into their stuff. Because I will say, people are very helpful. There are a lot of helpful content creators out there that do have your best interest in mind. Not everybody does. Some people just like put up courses just to make a buck. Before you go ham on buying courses, which I do recommend just for the right people, you want to use your intuition to decide whether or not that's something good for you. Because I will say there's a lot of information behind paywalls that are actually really, really helpful. And there's a lot of gate-kept information with spirituality because of multiple reasons. If it's in the wrong hands, if the knowledge is in the wrong hands, it can be very detrimental. If it's broadcasted to everyone, it gets distilled and then becomes distorted, becomes something else. Sometimes it's important to have like coaching with certain information, spiritual information, because you have to learn how to really integrate it. And it's nice to have a second opinion to evaluate like how you're doing on it, or, you know, how you're going about it. That can be very, very helpful. I'm not too mad whenever there's a paywall on information that I want to know. But you just want to make sure that that person aligns with you. You can check with your intuition. For, you know, free information and just information in general that you are consuming, take everything as a suggestion and not a fact, right? Like even this entire podcast, if it resonates, yay! If it doesn't resonate, that's okay. That's okay. You can listen to somebody else. We talked a little bit about people and books. Very, very great resources of information as long as you are using your intuition. Another resource. So here's the thing with ChatGPT and with Google. I do have some beef with these sources of information. ChatGPT, one, you don't really know where the fuck the information is coming from. Second off, they straight up lie. Same thing with Google AI. Don't read the first paragraph. The fact I've had to tell people that Google AI fucking lies to you and don't take that for fact. Don't just listen to ChatGPT and Google AI for information. Don't listen to them. You really want to dig in deep. If you want to go to ChatGPT, There's another one that you can use. It's called Perplexity AI, where it actually gives you the sources of what you are looking for. Don't fall for the first searches that you're looking for whenever looking for certain information, because keep in mind, it will be so regurgitated that it is so distilled, and then it's probably not what it's actually meant to be. 3 top results, especially on Google, are definitely paid for. You just want to be careful about that. So if you are going to use the internet, what I really, really, really recommend is going into rabbit holes instead of just going to a single page and going off of what that page says. Really doing a deep exploration and going to multiple sources, just being careful of the first 2 pages. If anything, I know it sounds almost contradictory, but I really do trust Wiki. And it's not necessarily that I trust the first page of Wiki and whatever's being said on that page, but more so the sources that Wiki has usually are pretty helpful to understand what exactly you're looking at. So I recommend just being very careful about all of the internet sources and just not going off of the first thing that you see or the first page that you see. Keep in mind that these pages and AI will never encapsulate everything, and that they aren't showing you a true system. They're not showing you the entire thing. And if you are able to find those types of websites or forums or whatever, then you've kind of gotten a gold nugget, okay? The next thing I want to talk about in this section of learning how to learn is I kind of want to go through just a list of subjects that I want to share with you guys, looking at the systems that you want to learn as a whole and trying to learn and go deeper into those systems instead of just learning little tidbits of random information. If you want to take your spirituality to the next level, it'll just be better to choose the route that you want to go. Do you want to go a more religious route, a more theological route? Do you want to go in a more esoteric route? Do you want to go in a more pagan route? Choose what it is that you want to go into so that way you can study it as a whole and just have a little bit more information on what everything is, okay? And I'm just going to list some things out right now, but I'm going to put a whole list in the description, I think, of all of these topics so that way you can kind of look at the topics and then sort of make your own rabbit holes, really look at those topics as a whole system instead of just randomly picking up whatever spiritual information you can from people, because these are things that have been documented, they have been recorded. Of course, not all of the information, but you can start here to help you really fine-tune what it is that you want to learn. So you can go religious routes, Eastern or Western, like Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, Islam. You can do whatever. There's even Jewish studies that gets really esoteric too. Choose your religious route. Paganism is religious. It's a religious umbrella of certain things. You can choose to go more witchy with paganism or Wicca, which is pretty new. There's Norse paganism. There's just esoteric topics you want to look into, like ancient stuff like hermeticism and alchemy. There's Egyptian alchemy. You can just even focus on symbolism, like the symbolism of all these different things. You can look into modalities like astrology, energy work, herbalism, or even human design, looking into what these systems help you do, what they help you to achieve, and really digging deeper and looking at it. So it's like, for instance, let's say you want to do it with tarot. Instead of looking at the meaning of one tarot card, you can look at the whole system, the history, who made it, who's the artist, blah, blah, blah. All of these things are actually very, very helpful in helping you have a more fine-tuned understanding of these systems and just being closer, like building a relationship with it. You can go into priestesshood by learning more about certain gods, goddesses, or even just ascended masters and certain deities of entire beings that can help you channel information or just really help you create some sort of curriculum and value system for yourself as well. You can go into shamanism and learning the old ways of how people used to tell stories and how important those stories were. Like, you can do so much with that. You can even go into a more scientific route with parapsychology and neuropsychology, learning about how science views psychic abilities and what the actual terminology is and how different it is to what we call it in passing, like the jargon. But there's so many things. There's ideologies you can look into, like anthroposophy by Rudolf Steiner, or spiritualism. Both of these ideologies have opposing beliefs. They are not one and the same. And honestly, most of these things you'll find the same. There are so many other more modalities and so many more other topics to consider. Like, this is in no way a comprehensive list, but it is something to get you to exploring and understanding that there's so much more out there than just your TikTok feed and certain people and spiritualists to listen to. You can listen to your own self. And so we're moving on to the last section of this podcast, which honestly is not so much about algorithms and learning how to learn and stuff. It's more so something you can apply in your everyday life, and whenever you're building your own path, building your own value system, and creating this like North Star for yourself when it comes to your spiritual learning, your psychic development, spiritual development, and you're moving towards higher consciousness. Seeing your five senses as ways to retrieve information instead of just random happenings. Your five senses are so valuable in the way that it tells you information about whatever you're going through, however you feel about something. For an example, your emotions are a reflection of the relationship you have to something external from you. That's super important to be looking at whenever you are paving the way towards higher consciousness and trying to be more aware about your life, rewiring your brain. It's super important. Certain feelings that you get could be indications of not your own feelings, not how you feel about certain things. It could be other people's feelings. It could be other things in your space, So being aware of the thoughts that you're getting, the emotions you're getting, and how you are overall perceiving your life, how you're receiving everything is information that is super important in kind of directing you on your path. So don't just disregard these like very visceral feelings that you might be getting in your day-to-day, even if it is just listening to a really good song, feeling that love and that desire and that juice you have from the song. Valuable. That is a valuable feeling to have, because one, universal energies, it can rank up law of attraction, but also secondly, you can start to understand whenever you're feeling that with something that's not a song, then you know that if you're feeling that with a person, place, or thing, that shit is for you. You know what I mean? So use that information not only with things like songs or jobs or whatever, but also with people. Like if there are people who are making you feel a little icky, a little anxious, a little, maybe it's a no, babe. And it doesn't have to be like this whole like, oh, I need to love everybody thing. You can still love people and give yourself space from certain people, right? And then whenever it's a yes for someone, you'll feel that visceral love that you feel from that one song that you love so much that just makes you feel. You know what I mean? Start to take all of these little tiny tidbits of subtle energy movements and information as information, not just happenings, not just random things that happen, right? They're really important for you. Something that I see time and time again through my path and then other people's path is that a lot of the times when we are in the unknown, we are always looking for a guide, we're always looking for a mentor, we're always looking for somebody else to reflect back to us what we need to do. And life just isn't that simple. Like sometimes it's good to have a mentor, and then other times it's good to come back to you on how you feel about certain things. And I'm honestly starting to realize this with my own relationship to spirit, where what they say and what they have to say about my situation is not what must happen. It's not what is supposed to happen. It's a suggestion. It's something to consider while I'm deciding where I want to go in my path. I have free will. Free will is so important. And just because somebody who you view as above you has either more information or more experience or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean to take in their advice all the time. You know what I mean? So keep in mind of that. You are your best compass. And I know that's really hard because we like to dumb ourselves down or not give ourselves that feeling of knowing what we need, or even sometimes we don't even give ourselves the chance to really sit back and be like, yes, I know what I need, because we think we don't know enough. But the reality is you know yourself better than anybody else. That is fact. And if you don't know yourself, then that's something to start with. You have to do what feels right for you. You have to pull the thread. Spirit guides are always leaving you breadcrumbs. They're always leaving you some sort of clue of what to look into next. They're giving you confirmations. They're giving you validations. But it's your job to listen. It's your job to explore it. They can't do that part for you. They won't ever show you all of the cards ahead of you. That's just not how it works. They're going to give you bits and pieces of the information, and it's your job to explore that. So look at it from that way. You're not meant to know everything. And that is why they make you go through the hoops. They help you go through the lessons. And yeah, that's why we have all of these things to learn. Keep those things in mind while you're going through your own journey and you're learning how to learn. And I think you're going to find a lot more satisfaction on your path and more trust, not only with yourself, but with your divine team, like with the divine in general. So yeah, well, I hope that you really enjoyed this podcast, and I would really love it if you would consider leaving a comment, dropping a like. Subscribing would really help my channel. Again, if you are interested in a reading, head to heyyourpsychic.com, and I'd love to read you and see what the guides have to say to you. And thank you so much for watching. I really hope it helped you. Let me know what you've thought about it. If this helped you in any sort of way, I'd love to know. So please let me know. And if you're interested in any other witchy, psychic, spiritualistic topics, I suggest you look at the rest of my podcast and see what's going on there. So thank you so much.